80% of seniors living in poverty are women. The kicker? 3/4 of them were not when their husbands were alive. Ladies, I want you to repeat after me. A man is not a financial plan. Stop trying to marry a breadwinner and learn how to be a breadwinner instead.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So we're going to get into today's topic, which is a man is not a financial plan. Recently, when you go to TikTok and even other social media platforms, you see women especially talking about how men are not the financial plan, how you shouldn't make a man a long-term financial goal because men, just like every other person, can disappoint you. But what happens if the man dies tomorrow? What happens if the man finds a side chick, or what happens if the man finds a mistress or just falls out of love for you? You know, sometimes when you talk to especially young women, when you ask them what is the plan for their life, and when others are talking about how they are trying to get into school, how they are trying to, make the most of their profession, how they're trying to start a business or learn a skill, you see some women talking about how their man is their financial plan. They always say, yes, my man, he's got me. And when this is not a bad thing, it's actually really cute. You would also have to realize that a man cannot be a long-term financial plan for you because he can just decide tomorrow that he's done taking care of you, he's done giving you money. What happens, especially when you are married and there is nothing like alimony or child support or even any type of support? What happens to you then? You realize that you have to start life afresh. But before we get into the videos that I found on TikTok, let us brush briefly on the historical context on women and their finances back in the day. I wanted us to take a little trip back in the day to understand why the whole a man isn't a financial plan thing is such a big deal right now. So back in the days, women had no financial independence like everywhere in the world. Once you got married, even if you had like assets or properties, they automatically become your husband's. And even if you separate from your husband, it still becomes his. So like there were actual laws backing this up. One of them is called the law of coverture, which basically says that once you get married, you're now legally invincible. And for jobs, women were not allowed to work, or even if they were allowed to, it was just really very little jobs that couldn't keep the lights on. So even to get loans from the bank, you need your husband's permission. So basically, even to do the most littlest basic stuff as a woman back in the day, you need the permission of a male figure in your life. So what happens if your husband isn't exactly Prince Charming like we all dream for? What happens? You're just basically stuck with a life full of turmoil and sadness. And back in the days, divorce wasn't an option then, because even if you divorce, how are you going to start life afresh? What are you going to do? Because all the financial aspect is handled by a man, the man in your life. Well, things started shifting during the Industrial Revolution when women began working in factories, and the two world war pushed even more women into the workforce. And then came the feminism in the 1960s and beyond. Women decided to, stand on their feet and said, hold up, we can actually make our own money and live our own lives. So yeah, a man shouldn't be a financial plan. He shouldn't, and he isn't. I mean, if it is convenient to have a partner that takes care of you, buys you stuff, takes care of the financial stuff in the home, that is really, really good. Lucky you, but you shouldn't now give all your power to a man and decide not to work. So let's get into one of the videos.
You should always be with a man that you can depend on, but you should never be fully dependent on a man. If you're sharing space with a man, he should be providing for you to the best of his abilities. That's just natural. That's just facts. Any man who loves you is going to naturally do that for you. But he should never be solely responsible for your survival. When you make a man solely responsible for your survival, if he want to starve you, he can. If he decides he don't want to provide a roof over your head, you're homeless. I say all of that to say, ladies, never get too comfortable. Never drop your hustle because you have a man providing for you. There's power in your independence.
I absolutely agree with everything this woman said, because while it is important and in fact feels very good to have a provider husband or a spouse, it is crucial for a woman to have their thing going for them, their career, their business, their skill, whatever it is. Because what if this man loses his life tomorrow, or gets another lover, or simply just loses interest and falls out of love, which more times out of none it happens, then what happens? Being financially independent gives you chances to make choices that will suit you as a woman on the long run. Because if you're financially dependent on your husband completely, he would be the one to make the choices, and most likely he's going to make choices that would suit him on the long run.
My dad taught me to never let a guy pay for anything, and that's because when he pays for all the restaurants that you go to, when he pays for the vacations, your cinema tickets, your plane tickets, whatever, this is not a gesture anymore. This is getting control of you financially. And when someone gets control of you financially, if they don't guarantee your future, like when you break up with that person, if that person isn't gonna give you a lot of money all throughout life, then that's not what you're supposed to do. Because even if you give a break for just a year on your career, things might change drastically for you. That's why if you're marrying a rich person and you're signing a prenup, do not give up your career for it. Not give up your career for your boyfriend of 5 years, because there's no guarantee that you're not gonna break up. You're gonna end up being broke.
Let us talk about financial independence and why it is a game changer in relationships. First of all, the empowerment it gives is not to all. I can categorically tell you that. But it doesn't just benefit you, it can shake up your relationship dynamics in some really interesting ways. When both partners can stand on their own financially, it levels the playing field. So when you want to make choices, you can boldly say, oh, let us do things this way, let us do things that way. But when you're not contributing to the family, what happens? You have to just agree with whatever it is that your spouse says. For example, decisions about big stuff like vacations or even investments or what is for dinner would feel more collaborative because no one is calling the shots just because they control the money. Just like they said, whoever brings the most money has the most power in relationships. There would also be a stronger team dynamic. Think about it. When you both bring something to the table financially, it is easier to focus on shared goals, whether it is saving money for a dream or starting a business together. And most importantly, it helps you keep your individuality. Having your own money gives you the freedom to treat yourself, invest in hobbies, or just feel like you're not losing out in the relationship. Because when you don't have your own money, you're more likely to go with whatever interest it is that your husband has. And people are more likely to be selfish. He's more likely to tilt towards his own direction, almost forgetting that you as a human being, you are an individual on your own too. So when you don't have your own financial, stability, you're most likely to go with whatever it is your spouse says and you don't have any choice. Honestly, there is nothing wrong in wanting to marry a breadwinner. However, you should also learn how to be a breadwinner yourself. I understand that becoming a wife and mother is already a whole heck of work. And I understand that being a housewife is a full-time job on its own. But honestly, I feel like the whole marriage situation puts women on a disadvantage because being a wife and a mother is already a full-time job. But for you not to fall into this trap of being financially dependent on a man, you have to find something to do for yourself. That's why I understand women that are marriage or child or children free, because that alone is already a full-time job and it is expected of you in the society. However, being playing that role it can put you at a disadvantage when it comes to your finances, unfortunately. This can be even worse for women that live in Africa, Asia, and the Caribbeans. I'm not too sure, but I think that there is nothing like prenup or division of assets or alimony in these places that I mentioned. So if your husband decides to leave you tomorrow, your whole sacrifice, your whole investment of your time, your emotions, they're all gone to the drain because you get nothing. You get nothing out of all these years. But then your spouse by the side can successfully play the role of a father and also, concentrate in his career. But as a woman, it takes much more time to be able to balance these things together.
I want to start this video by saying that I'm not asking for money and I'm not asking for sympathy. What I'm asking for is if you are a young 14, 16, 21-year-old girl, listen up. I drove to the grocery store. I need to grab some milk and bread and a couple things, flipped open the bank app on my phone, and I've been sitting in my car crying ever since because I never have enough money. And why do I never have enough money? Because when I was a 19-year-old girl, I fell in love. My Mormon faith told me that I was supposed to be a stay-at-home mom. I got married. I started having babies. I dropped out of college. I never had a career. My only jobs that I ever had in life were a waitress at the Olive Garden and managing a pretzel maker in a mall. Oh, my first couple years of marriage, I decided that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, so I bought a windshield business. I was 20. And my Mormon stake president reminded me that women weren't supposed to work, so I quit my own business, handed it over to my husband, took my name off of it. I would work our family business throughout the next 24 years of my marriage, but I never got paid. I didn't have a salary. My name wasn't on it. I literally worked for room and board. That's it. I would eventually also launch a custom home building company with my uncle as the architect and my friends as the builder, my designs, my realtor. But again, because my husband was the man, his name was on all of the projects, his name was on the business. I remember one of the last custom homes that I built, we sold it and made about a $260,000 profit. That money all went into his bank account. I didn't even have a bank account. I should have said that in the beginning. I never had a bank account. He would give me little envelopes of cash to go grocery shopping with. Anyway, that house sells, the money goes in the bank. I just asked if I could buy myself a piano with the money. I had worked on building that house for 2 years. All of the money went into his bank account. Nothing was under my name. I got a piano and I got a free house to live in. And I got groceries. So I found myself divorced at age 44 just 5 years ago, and within just a few months I was living in my car while he made about $250,000. He would eventually quit that job so that he wouldn't have to pay alimony and child support. He has only paid alimony one time ever in the 5 years since we've been divorced. Once ever. Right after my divorce, I remember being really confident about my ability to get a job, so I put together a resume. I remember one of the first interviews that I had as a management position for a windshield company, similar to the one that we had run. And the man actually laughing as he was interviewing me, like he was really sympathetic. He wasn't being a douchebag, but he was laughing. And he's like, so let me get this straight. You helped manage your family windshield business with your husband, but you were mostly a stay-at-home mom, and all you did was like the marketing and the hiring, firing, and some of the strategy for the business. But it became really apparent that I needed so many more skills to have any type of management job. I couldn't even work the basic computers. He told me in the interview, please don't apply for any more jobs like this. You are not qualified at all. You're not capable of doing this unless you go back to school and get your degree or get some different experience. And so I ended up, my first job after my divorce was $11 an hour, 4 hours a day, working as an assistant to a school teacher in an elementary school. I made $44 a day. For 24 years, I lived in $1 million homes. I vacationed all over the world. I spent my summers in Hawaii. I could buy myself $500 jeans, diamond tennis bracelets. We had boats and RVs and whatever I wanted. And it never bothered me once that my financial security was dependent on that man being in love with me. I never realized that him liking me or not liking me or finding me sexy or attractive or interesting determined whether or not my children could eat, whether or not I could buy myself a fucking jug of milk and a loaf of bread. So I had my 5th surgery in 2 years, 2 weeks ago, and I'm supposed to be in bed resting, and I can't because I worked 7 days a week since my divorce 5 years ago, which is why I'm covered in paint and looking like crap. We actually have a 4-day weekend here in Tucson, and since my partner isn't working, he's working on furniture flip partner projects with me. I have no retirement. I have no savings, no education, no resume. I was almost a straight A student throughout all of my education. I went to college at age 17. I had dreams for my future. I'm working so hard to get myself out of just perpetual side hustle hell. There's not a day that goes by that I don't wonder why. Why I didn't have a fucking backup plan. Why my kids eating and having stability was dependent on a romantic relationship. Why nobody told me to put money in the bank. Why nobody told me, don't have babies until you have an education and some experience. Don't have so many kids. I wish somebody had told me to put my name on our vehicle loans and to put my name on our houses. I wish somebody had told me that it's okay to put those babies in daycare for a couple days a week and go to college and have a job. And I think I need to do an entire tradwife sequel, because you can be happy and rich and loving your life like Ballerina Farm until the guy walks out. I want you guys to imagine for a minute, even rich Hannah. If Deanna walked out, if all of his financial backing and he had to sell the farm, and then what does she have? Find another rich boy to marry? I just don't want one more woman to DM me, comment, send me their stories, cry to me about how hard it is for them to support their families, and I am so tired of living my own story. We have to make this stop. Raise your daughters to be financially independent. Focus on their futures and educations just as much as you focus on your sons. I wish that someone had done that for me.
This is the important content we need, not Nara Smith, Ballerina Farm, or Emily Mariko. Please make more content. And honestly, I agree with her. It's very good to bring out awareness, especially for women to see what it is like to be a stay-at-home mom most of the time. The reality for most stay-at-home moms, and the importance for women to chase their career. And this one says, the real tradwife content I have been waiting for. My mom was a tradwife. I wanted to be a tradwife. She made me go to college after high school, and that changed the trajectory of my life. Forever grateful. Your mom is a superwoman. Thumbs up to her. Then this one says, the thing about being a tradwife is the control and privilege. Yeah, there is the privilege of just focusing on your kids, if that is what you like. Exactly. You be controlled a lot, and there is nothing you can do about it. This one says, there is a woman who makes videos saying if you're going to be a child wife, see a lawyer first and create a document with a protection plan in place. Absolutely, but it doesn't work for women in Africa or the Caribbean or even Asia. If you are a stay-at-home mom, that's all you got. You have nothing. You have no support. You have no alimony, just in case you guys break up. Nothing. Unfortunately, nothing. Be Ballerina Farm, but get a prenup. Want to raise babies? Get a prenup. If he won't give you one, you don't have babies. My ex took my house key, and that was it. 18 years ago. Whew, I'm so sorry to hear that. That's definitely heartbreaking. You just wake up one morning and everything you have is gone. This is what Shera is trying to protect us from. Have your own money in a secret account for a rainy day. Absolutely. Just like I said earlier, I feel like Shera's content is something you should consume, but consume sparingly. Some of the things she talks about, I absolutely agree with her, but not every. Well, this one says, I also think the tradwife influencers on TikTok aren't really stay-at-home moms, because they do get full income from TikTok. So essentially, it's like a dual income. Absolutely.
This is going to be controversial, but when it comes to the tradwife at 20 to single mom at 40 pipeline, y'all really have no one but yourselves to blame. What do y'all think the second wave feminist movement was all about? The grannies been told us. The aunties been told us. Our grandmothers had to fight the U.S. government to get bank accounts. And barely even 50 years later, y'all are voluntarily giving them up because Connor from English 101 told you he was going to love you forever. What? Y'all, please BFFR. We are so much smarter than this, ladies. Do not trust the relationship decisions you make at a time where your boobs are fully developed, but your brain is not. When you let a man have complete and total financial control over you, he will always eventually fuck you over. At the end of the day, they're always going to have the mindset of, well, you wasn't with me shooting in the gym. The entire stability of your life cannot rely on a man that you marry in your 20s wanting you for the next 60 years, and vice versa, because the tea is, what happens when you wake up and you don't want him anymore? What happens when you're ready to walk away, but you have no job experience, no bank account, nothing, because your entire future relied on this guy, this one human being wanting you forever, or you wanting them forever? I love my man down. I would die for that man right now. I truly am in love with him from the bottom of my feet to the top of my head, but I will always love myself more. Always. I'm talking separate bank accounts, prenup, the works. Because when you fail to plan your what? Planning to fail. Always remember, if you don't take nothing else away from this conversation, always remember a man is not a plan. A man is not a plan. A man is not a plan.
Okay, before we go forward, the second wave feminist movement, which was around the 1960s to the 1980s, focused on expanding women's rights beyond voting and political equality, which was the focus of the first wave. This movement tackled deeper social, personal, and professional inequalities to achieve true gender equality. It aimed to the level of playing field in working places by advocating for equal pay, fighting against discrimination, and ensuring better maternity leave and childcare options. Women also demanded the right to control their reproductive decisions, pushing for access to contraceptions and legal, safe abortions. Beyond that, it challenged outdated laws around marriage, divorce, and property, while highlighting issues like DV and marital rape, which has been long ignored. Women sought recognition as more than just homemakers and fought for shared domestic responsibilities. On a cultural level, the movement criticized sexist portrayal of women in media and worked to promote more empowered and diverse images. Sexual liberation was also a big theme, with women pushing back against double standards and advocating for more freedom to express their sexuality, which I don't think has been, well penetrated into our society today. Women in social media spaces are still expressed as actual beings. We are still being seen as objects that are used to satisfy men's erotic desires, unfortunately. Let's get into some of the comments in the comment section of this particular video. So this one says, I don't want to be a tradwife, but I definitely am not splitting bills with no man. And I honestly do believe her. I mean, I feel like in relationships cannot thrive when it's 50-50. Relationships can only thrive when it's 100-100. Each partner should bring 100 of whatever they feel like they can do very well. And also, being a mom, a wife is already a full-time job. Okay, betting children, taking care of them, that's already a full-time job. And still splitting bills with a man who isn't going to give birth to kids, isn't going to take care of your kids the way you as a mom would, that's unfair. So splitting bills 50-50, I do not believe in that. And this one says, no way I got this after a Nara Smith video. And you know what I think about Nara Smith is that she isn't really a stay-at-home mom. She's a businesswoman. She has businesses. I mean, she has social media that pays her and pays her a lot. So I don't even think she's in the category of stay at home mom women. So I mean, she's out of the equation. She's out of the league of stay-at-home mom. So you don't even put her into this conversation if we are being very honest. So this one says, another issue is that these tradwife influencers do have jobs, content creation, and earn their own incomes, but the normals who try to emulate them will not. Exactly what I just said. Nara Smith, content creation is a full-time job, just in case you don't know. So she gets paid even while parading as a stay-at-home mom. But unfortunately, these women that emulate them do not have any jobs by the side. They don't even have social media that they get paid from. So, I mean, make it make sense. Then this one says, my friend is steady moving towards the trad wife life and I'm just watching. Ooh, well, I mean, if she's really your friend, I would advise you talk to her. I mean, tell her the truth. That is what friends are known for. You don't have to be rude about it, but you just, spill it out to her so that she knows what she's getting herself into. Then this one says, trad wife who married an amazing man. Okay, she's a trad wife who married an amazing man. Our kids hit school. He sent me to medical school. Mama and MD, PhD only do this if you marry a good man. Well, you're just one of the hundreds, one out of hundreds. So I mean, minority doesn't make the rules. We're talking about majority here, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm happy for you that things worked out for you. But I mean, I wouldn't advise someone to do this because you see a couple of women doing it out of the thousands that are, you know, paying the price right now. Anyways, this one says a man is not a plan. Sending this to my daughters. Absolutely, I'm going to send this to my daughters when they eventually come. They need to stand on their own feet so that whatever a man brings is going to be like, extra. They can have the ability to make their own choices that pander to them, not to their man. Then this one says a lot of them grew up in really repressive religious environments. They were never told. And that's true, but I believe that as an adult, once you grow up and you gotta make choices for yourself regardless of whatever situation you found yourself growing up. That's what makes you an adult. You're no longer a child. You should be able to make choices that pander to you, not to the environment, not to your parents, on to whoever you feel like it is. Anyways, let's get back to this comment. This one says it is not only that, but what about life just happening? What if you get sick, injured, or dead? What happens then? Exactly. Then this one says some of them are married at 20 and single by 24 with 4+ kids. You can imagine a 24-year-old woman with 4 children, no job, no support system because they decided to become stay-at-home mom while not focusing on their career. I mean, you could be 30, no kids, and no career. It's going to be easier for you because you don't really have a lot of responsibilities. You could, get back into the career scene or learn a skill or start a business without having something. I'm not saying children are not blessings, they are blessings, but you have to make plans for them. So, what if this situation of this 24-year-old, she has no one to support her because the husband has already, dashed out of the door? What happens? It's going to be a lot more harder. I'm not saying it's not doable, but it's going to be a lot more harder compared to a 30-year-old who has no kids and is still trying to get up to their feet. Anyways, this one says, girl, they be shaming us too, talking about imagine choosing the wrong man because you gotta work while pregnant, bro. You see what I'm saying? I have an auntie that she worked while she was pregnant, even into her 8 months of pregnancy. And while she was doing that, a lot of people did not support her. They were like, you should quit your job and focus on your pregnancy. And it wasn't exactly a bad advice, but I should say you should only do that if you have like a high risk pregnancy or you were specifically advised by your doctor to quit your job. But if not, there would be repercussions for doing that because especially in a corporate world, once you miss a couple of years, getting back is going to be a lot more difficult, and she was a corporate woman. So I'm not saying it's going to be easy for us as women, but I'm just saying if you want to hold your financial plan at bay, you should try and be strong and make it work anyhow you have to. And this one says, nah, let them be. They also want to judge women who don't want the lifestyle. And I honestly support everyone has different lifestyles, and that's good. This one says being financially dependent on someone is just so extremely dangerous to me. Anything can happen. Nothing is certain. Absolutely. This one says, do I want my man to be a provider? Yes, but not so I can become dependent on his. Exactly. Then this one says we work. We don't work because it is fun. We work because it is how we maintain our independence and our autonomy. Exactly. Then this one says this. What's crazy to me is them having so many children. Only have as many as you're comfortable raising on your own. And I feel like this statement is not being said as much as we should. Most times most women we pander to men a lot. So when you get into a relationship or marriages, then we most likely give birth to the number of kids our men want, not the number of kids we want, forgetting that we are the primary shoulderers of our kids. We're going to be the primary person that takes care of our kids what if anything happens in the future. So it should rather be how many kids can you take care of, how many kids can you comfortably carry, how many kids can you comfortably give birth to, whilst maintaining your autonomy. But I guess I don't know if we're ready for that conversation yet. These women need to read The Feminine Mystique by Betty freer than. Ooh, okay, we'll check it out. There's a lot of comments here. Most women talk about how it is good to, have your own autonomy as a woman, and most women don't really, support the whole idea narrative. They feel like it's not fair to the women, and unfortunately, that's just life for you. The whole idea of marriage and rearing children whilst maintaining financial independence is not exactly easy, and it's not exactly going to be easy for women. But I feel like this is what we have to do to be able to thrive both in marriage and in our personal lives.
Ladies, I'm begging you on my knees. Stop prioritizing getting a man with money. Get your own bag. And women think I say this because I'm pandering to men or because I'm trying to be a pick-me. Not knowing that the whole time I'm really terrified for you. We live in a world where we are proven second-class citizens. We live in a world where it's their rules, it's their social norms. Like, I don't think we as women understand how much we view ourselves through the lens of men. So the world has been set up for men to win. It's not that I don't want you to get a rich husband. It's that when you are financially reliant on that man, he owns you. And men have proven time and time again that they cannot be trusted with that responsibility. I am not saying don't enjoy your husband's money and live a soft life. I am saying don't sell your soul for it. Don't put yourself in a position where you cannot move freely for it. Don't put yourself in a position where if he decides to withhold it, you are doomed. You are down and out. Giving the wrong person financial ownership over you is basically like giving them your life. It is indentured servitude because at the end of the day, you will always be reliant on them for survival. So please go ahead, get you a good man with money. But also, baby, have yours. Just have yours. Have that backup plan. Even if you don't need it, never ever let a man think that you cannot make it without him. It is not safe. So please, on my knees, I want you to have everything. But that everything has to include peace, safety, care, freedom of movement, freedom to be yourself, freedom to live life on somewhat of your terms. Yes, we like money, but more importantly, we like good heart. We like good character. We like someone who's entrepreneurial. Those kind of men are never broke for long. We want someone who has a sense of reality. We don't want someone who, because they've got money, they think that the world is their playground and they can do whatever they want. That is not a safe place to be. So let me stop ranting. But when I say stop looking for men with money, decent men with money, it is coming from a place of love and not a place of judgment. Okay? Now, like I always say, there's always an exception to the rule. For best results, assume it's not you. Mwah.
This tradwife trend is throwing me for an absolute loop. And ladies, look, I get it. We want to be with our babies. They're so freaking cute. You want to excel in your role as a mother. You want to excel at being a wife. I'm a perfectionist too, I understand. But I think we're missing the fact that you can still be in your femininity and know that a man is not a financial plan. If you have a husband that takes care of you financially, amazing, great, live your life. But you still need access to your own money. You still need your own emergency fund. You still need your own retirement account. All of the assets should not be in his name because there is a dark side that nobody is talking about, and it hurts my heart so much because I have seen this personally, with friends and family, and I have seen this happen to so many women in my DMs. Like, guys, you have no idea how many messages I get from women on a daily basis. Some of these women are recently divorced after decades of being with a husband who said that they would take care of them forever. And now because they haven't worked in 10, 20, 30 years, they're unable to get a job commensurate with the income level that they should have been at. What I think a lot of people are missing is the fact that people don't go into marriage, I hope not, expecting to get divorced. Everybody thought that relationship was going to last. You are not unique. And I really hope that you would be the outlier if that's your situation, but do you really want to bank on that? Do you want to put your financial future, your economic security on that? Not to mention the women who are stuck in abusive relationships that they cannot get out of now because they do not have the financial means to go. Whether that's emotional abuse or physical abuse or financial abuse, aka where you don't have access to any of your own money and all of your purchasing decisions need to be run through somebody else who controls everything that you do with money, tells you what you can do, where you can go, how you can spend. And maybe you're like, Nicole, I wouldn't marry someone who's abusive. Girl, real talk, you realize that most relationships don't start out that way, right? Or they never would have made it to the marriage stage. And again, I hope that none of this ever happens to you, okay? But I need to call you out with love right now. Because if this message can reach one person and change the trajectory of that one person's life, then I am doing God's work. You need your own money. You need your own economic security. Because if shit hits the fan, the only person you're going to have left to rely on is you.
Girls, it's time for you to start being so for real. You will never outmaneuver, outtalk, outmanipulate a rich, successful older man. It's never gonna happen. You will never outsmart a powerful man. Whatever fantasies they sell you about dressing and speaking and acting a certain type of way so that you can get the results that you want out of a rich man are just that. They're fantasies, nothing else. Because in reality, they can smell that a mile away. They can see when you're lying, when you're scheming, when you're trying to act like you're somebody you're not. Do you think they got all that money by being stupid and not being able to be socially aware and read people? Don't delude yourself. You will not outmanipulate him.
Get into some of the comments that I found interesting here. And this one says, women have been manipulating sultans and emperors for decades and ruling empires from behind closed doors. Why underestimate women? And honestly, I don't feel like this video was meant to underestimate, the power of a woman. I just feel like we should be more realistic when we, deal with men, because even though these myths and these legends and these stories try to, infantilize men at some point, they are not exactly kids. They are actually men that think for themselves. So even if they pander to your, performance as a woman, that is because they are in love with you. And unfortunately, most times loving someone doesn't last forever. So there is this series that I watched. It's called The Magnificent Century. It's about a sultan and her sultanas. And there's a particular woman called Hurrem. I don't know if many of you might have watched the movie. It's actually a very, very interesting series. Hurrem, the Sultan fell in love with Hurrem, and it's a long story, but she was very manipulative and all of that. And eventually her kids succeeded the Sultan, whilst the Sultan having other sultanas that would have succeeded him, not Hurrem's children. I don't know if you're getting my point. So I feel like the whole idea of that movie was that the Sultan was in love with Hurrem, one of his sultanas. So men falling in love with you would give you the opportunity for you to manipulate them, but sometimes they might fall out of love with you. And even if they don't fall out of love with you, they know what you're doing. It's just that they want you to do it. So I feel like we should not infantilize men as more as we do. We should be more realistic as women, because that is what men do better than us. They are more realistic, they are more logical, but we are not realistic sometimes. Anyways, let's get to the next comment. This one says, thank you. And 99% of the time, these rich men only date within their circle. Rich women whose parents are friends with theirs, whose siblings went to the same school with their siblings, they don't just look for the next girl on the street and trust that it is true love. That's true. That's true. Most times it happens only in the movies. And this one says, but he bought me a car and a house. Now what? He loves you. Yeah, exactly. Somebody replied and said he loves you. He didn't outsmart him. Exactly. That's what I said. So what happens when, he finds someone, which, as a rich man, there are a lot of women that would flood around him, and there are more chances that he's going to find someone. What happens? The cars, the house, the monthly stipend, the gifts will stop coming. So why don't you just make your own money just in case it stops coming? You see my point? See where I'm coming? Then this one says, they have seen your type a million times. Exactly. There are a lot of beautiful women around. And I'm not denying the fact that, beauty can, choke a man, can make a man go crazy for you. But there are a lot of indeed really beautiful women which might, make him lose interest in you and get on to the next beautiful woman. Then this one says, that's what I thought until I read The Act of Seduction. It teaches you the art of manipulation in a man's world. This one says, somebody replied and said, they are not manipulating anyone. You are not manipulating anyone. They just give you crumbs because they want to. And in as much as I wouldn't want to admit this, that's the truth, honestly. Then this one says, it's not manipulation if they are also interested in you and want the best for you. Pick these, okay? Then this one says, every end of the year, I troll Shira's audience on this. They claimed they are winning, but they are never. Any proposals or any weddings? Honestly, when it comes to Shira's videos, there are some things that I agree with her, but I don't feel like you should, take everything she says, hook, line, and sinker. Anyways, we've come to the end of today's video. Please, if you like what you just watched, I would really appreciate it if you give this video a thumbs up. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share if you care. I'd really appreciate it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.